What's up, everybody? Jim and Chris here to talk about some new revelations about the villain of Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren. J.J. Abrams did an interview with Entertainment Weekly. It's their new cover story. And so let's dive into some of the stuff that we learned about Kylo Ren.
Some stuff we actually surmised from some of the things
there
that we
had been
heard.
rumors, and we had talked about some of this in the past, the fact that he's essentially a Darth Vader fanboy.
Right.
He is obsessed with Vader and with the bad guys that came before. And here was an interesting big reveal that his name, Kylo Ren, that Ren, like Darth, is actually a sort of a title that one adopts.
Because he's from the Knights of Ren.
Well, here we go. J.J. Abrams says that he is a character who came to the name Kylo Ren when he joined a group called the Knights of Ren, and he wouldn't elaborate on what that was.
I'm wondering this. I'm wondering, are all the Knights of Ren Sith worshippers, or is he a Sith worshipper who joins this organization that doesn't necessarily?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Maybe they're just like the Knights of Columbus. They just sit around and have dances and play
I think
poker.
it is. I think they are all Sith worshippers, and he is, you know, just a really scrappy, emotional guy in that mix.
Yeah, they do talk a lot about his emotions and all that, and that, you know, there's basically a lot of inner turmoil. Lawrence Kasdan says that he's full of emotion no matter how we express ourselves in the world, whether we hide it and act very calm or whether we're very out there and demonstrative. Everybody's rolling with emotion, and they have to deal with their emotions the best way they can.
This guy doesn't seem like he's gonna deal with his emotions the best way he can.
And that's a huge part of like Star Wars, always about controlling your emotions and yada yada.
Well, the Jedi Order, you know, like the Sith, you know, it's basically fed on rage when on the dark side of the Force. So to channel your rage into power is what that whole, you know, what that whole concept is based on, the whole dark side. This movie is really dark side, light side, right? You have that sense that there are people that are going to switch sides, and they're going to be
and that both
some
sides see themselves as the heroes of their own story, which is true to the world that we live in that, you know, every villain is just the hero of their own stories. So.
And it was actually true, I think, of the world of Star Wars in the first place. Like, I don't think the Emperor acted all evil and stuff, but I didn't feel like he woke up in the morning. Like, no villain wakes up in the morning and thinks, I'm evil, I'm gonna go do evil things. It's like, no, I want power, I want the, you know, the things that go with all that.
Well, you know, one sort of implication of this article is that Kylo Ren might not necessarily be somebody born to a high strata of society. He could kind of be the inverse of Luke Skywalker.
Right.
A farm boy, somebody who came out of nowhere to accomplish these great things, or if you're on the wrong side of it, horrible things.
He built his own lightsaber.
He did build his own lightsaber. They confirmed that, you know.
He goes off to join like this organization, let's say, you know, the Knights of Ren is you know, he kind of joins this quest as Luke kind of did, but on the opposite side.
Yeah, I mean, and we should say that we don't know at what point in his life he joined those Knights. Was he a mixed up kid looking for a place to belong, like getting involved in a gang or something? But it's, you know, but
the Sith gang.
But I think it's interesting that they, you know, that they would do the inverse of somebody who would come out of nowhere and become this leader, and it kind of ties in with some of the Nazi elements of the Empire and the basis for some of the stuff. You know, the fact that we almost look at the First Order almost being like neo-Nazis to the Empire's Nazis, but in this way it is kind of harkens back a bit to Hitler, this guy who came out of nowhere and, you know, became this monster.
Well, it's heavy duty, but they are doing like the last
I bring
time
the heavy duty.
The last time they showed, you know, the last image that we saw before these Entertainment Weekly ones was kind of the display, or it was in that Korean trailer that we saw. It was the sort of the display of force that you know, you see in sort of big militarized organizations and governments throughout the world, and sort of these empires that have existed in the world. They always have their show of military force out there when they're addressing the people. And in this case, you know, you see somebody who might be Kylo Ren up there with the First Order. So somehow, I mean, we know he's involved with the First Order.
Too, that the First Order sounds like it was a group independent of Kylo Ren. So did he kind of come into it as almost like not a hired gun, but like
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of their guru in a way. You come in and can lead us.
I think the First Order is actually the government, essentially, the thing that rose up out of the ashes of the
remnants
defeated
of the
empire. And this Kylo Ren is more of a mystical element and working with them somehow, but I don't know if he's leading that.
Yeah.
I think he just might be working with them to, you know, achieve his own ends.
Yeah, they have a mutual goal that I would imagine will end up having them cross the bad guys. Now the bad guys, the good guys. Sorry. Another thing we learned was that that's right. Everything leads to the dark side. Don't feel anything. The lightsaber that we see in the trailer is Anakin Skywalker, his lightsaber that he made back when he was a good guy, when he was Anakin, and then when he broke bad, you know, that lightsaber went into Ben Kenobi's possession, who then gave it to Luke, but then lost it fighting Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back. And so somehow it got off of wherever it ended up in Bespin.
Just to clarify, we're not talking about the crackling saber that Kylo Ren has. We're talking about the saber that Leia receives.
In the trailer.
So the theory is that Kylo Ren, being, you know, a big Darth Vader follower and worshiper, would be seeking this relic, and that could drive some of the, you know, some of the action in this film. You know, if you know you're seeking that possession of the person that you worship.
I mean, we've heard that he's basically a collector of these kind of old artifacts, and I actually have a little theory about his mask, because the article also says that it's kind of, I believe is sort of, you know, tied to his history and everything. So I wonder if that mask isn't sort of built on the burnt out husk of Vader's mask that we see in the trailer, that it's sort of like, is almost like the chassis, if you will, of it.
The front part of that mask could be the back part of the Vader mask if it survived, or it could be as simple as he took that mask, you know, that really, you saw it in the trailer, in the first trailer, it was just kind of like melted together. He could have just reforged
from his rearview mirror like dice. And
well, he could have just reforged it too and used elements of it, or he could have just, if something was intact, he could have cut it off and used that.
Now, here's another kind of thing that we're going to speculate on. We're not saying this is fact, but you know, the EW article leaves the implication that, you know, if he's kind of an anti-Luke Skywalker, and you know that if he adopted the name Ren, where did he come from? Do we know his parent or parents? So let's just speculate here, because it certainly seems like they're implying that. If he is, say, Han and Leia's kid, what do you think about that?
I mean, well, I know what you think about it, so let's talk about what you think about it first.
I don't like that, and it's not. And I know in the now discarded EU, you know, Han and Leia's kid turned to the dark side. I get all that. I know that there's some precedent for it. However, I just don't like that it's essentially just a spin on something you already explored. You already did that. Can't other characters have been as deeply, profoundly affected by the events of that trilogy than people who aren't? Why does he have to be genetically tied to them? I love the idea if he was somebody who grew up.
Well, it's just his midichlorians that are.
Yeah, which won't be in this movie. But I just sort of, I don't like that it would be, again, like, it has to keep in the family and do the same trope again.
The
Skywalker
like, I don't need cycle. Well, here's my thought on it. I don't hate that idea as much as you do if they execute it properly. I think there's a lot of symmetry to this movie. You know, much as there's a light side and a dark side, there is a symmetry in saying this is the anti-Luke Skywalker, and this is the thing that like follows from that. And also, you know, they were I think Jedi was exploring a little bit of how close was Luke to the dark side? How close was he to following in his father's footsteps? And if this is Han and Leia's kid, that blood flows through his veins too.
Yeah.
What
if it's really creepy? What if it's Luke and Leia's kid? That would explain why they're like, get him out of here.
They certainly aren't. They certainly aren't going to do that. But like, yeah, I think there could be an interesting symmetry to it. So yeah, we'll see.
All right, well, we want to know what you think about all these new revelations about Kylo Ren. You know, what do you think about him, his possible parentage, and all that jazz? So for all things Star Wars Force Awakens, keep it here on IGN.